Hi and welcome to Terry Talks Movies. Now, in the month of August, on this channel, I'm going to be watching 31 art house films because I'm a member of the Australian Film Critics Association now. I've got to up my game. I've got to have some credibility. So among all the other stuff I'm going to watch, I've got to watch 31 art house films in the month of August 2025. Having said that, this is a palate cleanser for me. This is the stuff I do before I do all the serious, meaningful movies, the ones that everybody loves, and I'm going to find out whether I love them too. Before I do that, I'm going to do some TV. This video is actually a bunch of TV series and streaming series, because everything's a streaming series now, that I enjoy. Every year or two I do a list like this and I update it. There's a bit of overlap occasionally, but for the most part, this is the stuff. This is the things that I'm going to watch in between all them art house films as a palate cleanser for myself. So let's get started with the first black superhero TV series. It's from 1994 and 1995. It was co-written by Sam Raimi along with Sam Hamm, who did the script for the 1989 Batman movie. So he's got, runs on the board. M.A.N.T.I.S, starring Carl Lumley, Roger Rees, Galen Gorg. This is such an underrated series. Ran for one season, 22 episodes. Halfway through the season, they changed a lot of the format around and kind of rejigged some things. But the story is this. A scientist, Miles Hawkins, gets shot in the back by a police sniper during a riot when he is going to rescue a kid. And leaves him paralyzed from the waist down. He's in a wheelchair. Along with another scientist, he develops an exosuit of armor, which is bulletproof. It's also allowing him to walk when he's in the armor. And he becomes a vigilante superhero called M.A.N.T.I.S, which stands for Mechanically Augmented Neurotransmitter Interactive System. And he has a secret lair. He has a flying car called the Chrysalis. And he goes out and does heroic things. This is a series that came out a couple of years after the 1990 The Flash series. And there's a little bit of the same DNA in this one. It does a whole lot with the lack of budget. Miles is against violence, so he uses paralysis darts rather than killing bad guys. He goes up against monsters. There's time travel involved. There's a whole bunch of science fiction. It's a really ambitious series for the lack of budget and just a lot of fun. It's one of those series that you've got such goodwill for it that occasionally when there's an episode that's a bit naff or the special effects don't look fantastic because they didn't have the money or the technology to do them as well as they would now, that goodwill carries you through those things. But M.A.N.T.I.S, I definitely like. I don't know why it's in a steelbook on this one. The version I've got is the steelbook. Not a big fan of steelbooks, but I am a big fan of this series. And if you can find a copy of it wherever, I think you're going to have a good time with it. It's part of the history of superhero narratives on the small screen. And it's an honorable piece of that. And also a piece of representation in that. So we'll stay on superheroes for a series from the 1960s that became a mania. It became the flavor of the month. It became very big media stuff. And it's all because of Hugh Hefner. In 1964, Hugh Hefner, at the Playboy Mansion, at a really big soiree that he had. This is before Hugh Hefner became the pathetic old man he showed all of the episodes of the 1943 Batman movie serial in the Playboy Mansion. And it became a very big cause celeb among movers and shakers in Hollywood. And it was decided that they wanted to make a slightly light-hearted version of Batman for the TV, much in the same way that The Man from U.N.C.L.E. hit big. It had a lighter tone. And it hit just after the James Bond mania started. So, Batman, the 1965-1966 series, which did so many things right. It hit the pop culture zeitgeist perfectly. It had a psychedelic style to it. It had a tongue-in-cheek comedic stuff. It had a whole bunch of actors who could camp it up playing the villains. It had cameos from celebrities. It had a very knowing tongue-in-cheek style to it all the time. And it was also broadly accessible. Kids could enjoy it, and of course they did in droves. I loved it at the time, even though I was watching it on a shitty TV screen in black and white. Also, people who are kind of hip to things would go, yeah, well, that's kind of interesting because they've got Vincent Price playing the Egghead, and they've got Burgess Meredith playing the Penguin. They've got all of these actors who were really solid character actors, just having a good time. A whole bunch of people. Every week, you get a mad choice of actors playing in Batman, and it just landed so well. Of course, you got Adam West and Burt Ward and Yvonne Craig, my first crush, as Batgirl. Really great. And I like this box set because there's your Cesar Romero as the Joker, Julie Newmar, my favorite Catwoman, Burgess Meredith as the Penguin, and on the back, you got Frank Gorshin playing the Riddler. Who have we got in the back of the other ones? Victor Buono playing King Tut on that one. And on the back of that, I'm not sure who they are. You got Eli Wallach playing Mr. Freeze. And you got Vincent Price playing Egghead. These are fun to just binge and watch and just dive in, do 2 episodes because there's always a cliffhanger in the first episode. And it runs into the second episode where there's a very obvious solution to the cliffhanger where Batman and Robin are trapped by the villain of the week and have to escape, and they've got something in their utility belts that'll let them escape. Camp fun, really rewatchable and really bingeable. Terrific 1960s pop culture. I had a Batman utility belt when I was a kid, and my brother lost some of the parts to it. Eventually, it got chucked out for some reason. But if somebody made me a very large Batman utility belt now with all those little toys on it, I would be unreasonably grateful. So if there's anybody out there who's a maker and has weeks to spare and will make something for no budget, I would love a Batman utility belt. Let's move on to the next thing. Stay in the 60s. A lot of these are the 1960s and the 1970s. There's one from the 1950s, the Addams Family. I got all of the Addams Family on 2 different boxes there. I was an Addams Family guy much more than I was a Munsters guy. I think the Addams Family did it right. I mean, there was the obvious love between Gomez and Morticia. You got John Aston and Carolyn Jones playing them. You got Jackie Coogan. You got Ted Cassidy, the GOAT of tall actors. I just liked the world that the Addams Family created much more than I liked the world of the Munsters. The Munsters were like universal horror. The Addams Family were looking ahead and going, yeah, we're going to be goths 40 years before goths. And in fact, if you look at it on the IMDb page, it says that the Addams Family is a gothic comedy. And you've got all the other bits and pieces as well. You got the wonderful Vic Mizzy theme song. Theme songs always hit in TV series, particularly kids. As kids learn the lyrics to the theme songs, they'll sing along with them and it'll engage them more with the series. And even though these guys are crazy mad, they're a tight family unit. They're really, there's an organic togetherness of the family, like Grandma and Uncle Fester and Lurch the butler and the Addams themselves and Pugsley and Wednesday. And of course, it's got a long tail too because the second series of Wednesday is coming out fairly soon. The Addams Family almost created subcultures in future years by being just what they are. And I love them unreasonably. Just the production design, the set designs, the blowing up the train sets, all that kind of stuff just hits for me, as it has for the last half a century. Fantastic stuff. Love it. Osamu Tezuka created Astro Boy, but he also created other series. Now, let me get my notes up for this because I want to get this one right. This is an anime from the 1960s. 67 to 68 was the original run of it. It's set in a kind of European medieval era. It's a swashbuckling adventure. There are series that can be reevaluated in future years, and we can see things in them that may not have been intended by the creators of the series, but are definitely somehow in some way in the series. Now, this one is a gender-bending anime, which has a very androgynous protagonist in Sapphire, the Princess Knight. Beautiful Japanese animation from the 1960s. It's about a princess who's got a dual soul. She received the soul of a boy and a girl, and so she is gender ambiguous. People in this series say it's a mistake, but it is her nature. There's the first box. There's some of the images from it. Beautifully swashbuckling, beautifully detailed world is created. Her kingdom gets taken over by an evil guy who's part of a neighboring fascist country, and Princess Knight and a little kind of fairy angel called Tink have to rescue the kingdom. Really interesting. And from that kind of LGBTQIA plus viewpoint, this is a really interesting series because of that, because of the ambiguity of the dual nature of the protagonist and the dual gender right to the very core of them, of the protagonist, is such an interesting concept. And it lands differently in our time than it did in the original time. It was an interesting series when it came out. It's an interesting series now. The music by Isao Tomita is really good as well. There's really a lot of production design for a fairly low budget in this particular series. It's one of the less loved of Osamu Tezuka's series, but I really like it. For me, it's right up there with Astro Boy because of that complexity of character. How it plays differently in our era is kind of magical to me. So let's get on with the boy stuff. We'll start with the 1950s because it came first. This series was on Australian TV a lot. It's an English series from 1958-1959. Conrad Phillips in The Adventures of William Tell, about the liberator of medieval Switzerland, played of course by English, Irish and Scottish and Welsh actors. It's got crossbows in it. It's got William Tell right in the credits shooting an apple off the head of his kid with a crossbow. And I'm sure no kid ever tried to do that to their little brothers. But one of the joys of this one, apart from the theme song, which is a vocal version of the William Tell Overture sung by David Whitfield, kind of operatic tenor voice. And I love the theme song, and I can still remember all the theme song. The guest actors were people who hit big later on in life. I'm just going to read from the back of this. Michael Caine, Wilfred Bramble from Steptoe and Son, Donald Pleasance, and Robert Shaw were all guest actors in The Adventures of William Tell. And it's always fun to see very familiar faces in other contexts. And the other person that was in this as well was Nigel Green, was one of the characters in this one. These swashbuckling series were made in England in the 1950s because they had a whole bunch of ruins around they could do it. They just worked. Each episode's half an hour, so it's not particularly long. And they didn't have continuing themes apart from defeating the invaders and defeating the bullies and defeating the fascists who took over Switzerland. Apart from that, works really well. Goes along with the Robin Hood TV series with Richard Green, and there was an Ivanhoe series with Roger Moore in it. There are a whole bunch of these swashbuckling series. Richard the Lionheart was another one. Just so many of them. I'm kind of glad that this one came out, even though it doesn't quite have all of the episodes. It's still a blast from the past from my childhood. And they're good fun to watch. And then you go, oh shit, there's Michael Caine. And oh shit, there's Donald Pleasance. And you just have that fun looking for actors who started their careers doing things like this. Why do we do it next? Let's do this one because it works and it comes next in line. This is one I got sent by Viavision a while back, and I'm very grateful to them for that. And it started in 1961, 1962 in the first season. And then there was a hiatus before they re-geared the series and started it again from, I think, 1965 to 1967, if I am not incorrect. First season, 59 to 60, I apologize, 59 to 60. And then the revamp seasons were 1964 to 1966. And they changed the character's nationality. He went from being an American to being an English person. He got a different theme song when it came to America. Danger Man with Patrick McGowan. Terrific stuff, this. The first season, the 1959-1961, had half-hour episodes. And I've watched a few of them today. And the plotting is so compressed. It goes from one thing to another. It's got the setup of what's going wrong, how John Drake, the Danger Man, is going to investigate it, where it's located. There are locations in Eastern Europe, a very vague Eastern Europe. There's the pilot episode is set in Italy, though it's filmed in Portmeirion in Wales. And you see the accent of John Drake change as they re-geared it for the subsequent seasons between 1964 and 1966. They're bingeable. You know, you just watch one. I'm watching the first lot at the moment. You just watch a half an hour episode and go, cool, it's got these actors in it. It's got that person in it. Hazel Court's in the pilot episode, for instance. A lot of fun to watch that. And just go deep into 1960s TV. And Danger Man turned up a lot on terrestrial linear TV here in Australia. Channel 9 had it, and they'd play it at 5:30 in the morning. They put an episode on, you watch an episode then if you're up and about, which very frequently I was. Then, of course, I'm not going to talk about this much. It's been talked about too much. The Prisoner. Patrick McGowan's series he did when he got shitty with the quality of the plot lines and the scripts. In Danger Man, he went off to make the surrealistic The Prisoner. Ignore the one with Jim Caviezel and Ian McKellen in it. I've got that, but I haven't watched it yet. But this one, the 17 episodes are crazily good. If you look on YouTube, the people who got the rights to them have actually got these out on YouTube. But I've got the Blu-ray box set that Via Vision Imprint sent me. I'm not going to talk any more than that. A fantastic surreal spy series with a lot of mysteries and a lot of reality shifts that really work. This one's got a ton of extras on it as well. I've talked about it before I reviewed it. So you've got that. You've got Danger Man and The Prisoner. You're going to have weeks and weeks of binge viewing watching those. Then we're going into ITV 1970s. And you've got a whole bunch of Interpol agents called Department S with Peter Wingard, Rosemary Nichols and Joel Fabiani playing 3 agents for Interpol who go out and investigate things. Peter Wingard plays Jason King. Stuart Sullivan is played by Joel Fabiani. And Annabelle Hurst is played by Rosemary Nichols. And they go out and solve mysteries and things. All the episodes are 50 minutes long. Wish I had that on a smaller format because that's a chunky box for the amount of episodes it has. There are some extras on this as well. And the interesting thing too is that their boss is actually a man of color. So Curtis Seretse, played by Dennis Alaba Peters. And I like the fact that they chose to do that in this series. Joel Fabiani, who's in this and is kind of the romantic lead in some ways. A couple of weeks ago, I saw him. He's actually in Looking for Mr. Goodbar with Diane Keaton. He plays her brother-in-law in that. And that's kind of surprising, seeing Joel Fabiani in that movie. But good, solid things. And of course, we've got to follow up this with the series that I really liked in the 1970s, Jason King. They spun off a series with Peter Wingard's character, Jason King, because he was a breakout star of Department S. And just a lot of fun. And the interesting thing for me, dressed incredibly well. I really liked the style of Jason King's dress. And there were a whole bunch of guest actors in it. Ingrid Pitt's in it, for instance, in an episode. A whole bunch of different people. And the interesting thing is, before the series was filmed, they sent Peter Wingard off across Europe to just do basically location shooting, second unit location shooting, wandering around Rome and Paris and Berlin and other places so they could slot it into the episodes and make it look like it's a jet-setting series. But the hairstyle that Peter Wingard had in those outtakes is very much an elaborate comb-over, whereas he wore a toupee in the series itself. So there's a disconnect between the kind of establishing shots in the second unit and Peter Wingard in this, because, you know, guys occasionally lose their hair. What can you do? But I like it. Banger of a soundtrack. Very 1960s, 1970s, between Department S and Jason King. People who saw it when they were young appreciate it. And people who are younger, of course, can watch it and appreciate it as more or less a historical artifact, which indeed it is now. Lots and lots of cool actors. All of these series, The Prisoner, Danger Man, Department S, and Jason King, rely and are built on a structure of really good character actors who play types. And they'd either play them on stage or they'd play them on television or they'd play them in film. But you knew you could slot an actor into a particular role and they would fill out that role and give it a lot more than it is on the script. And all through those series, you see these actors turning up again and again. Sometimes in Danger Man, they had actors play 2 or 3 different roles over the series. The actors knew their job incredibly well, could play a certain type of character, and they elevated the productions they were in because they brought a groundedness and an interesting twist on these characters. And I always like that. These days when I watch these series, I watch them as much for how character actors do their job in the secondary roles, as much as I'm there for the plot and the punch-ups and the pretty women. So that's what I got for you this time around. A series I like, and series I'm going to keep on the coffee table, so that when I get over watching art house movies in August, I can dip in and watch an episode of Batman or an episode of William Tell or an episode of M.A.N.T.I.S or Jason King or any of the other ones and just have a good time palate cleanser, and then go back into the serious movies. Not always serious, but like the heavier movies. I mean, I've got a Michael Haneke box set that I'm going to dip into for the 31 days of art house movies. That's not going to be a bowl of cherries for me. So let me know what you think of this video and which of these series you really like and which ones you want to rewatch. Rewatchability is the name of the game with all of these series. That's what I got for you this time around. Thanks a lot for watching. If you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, do all of the stuff. Leave a comment. Please leave a comment because it's always fun getting comments from people who will call me out when I get things wrong. And because I am but a human, I do get things wrong occasionally. You can also support the channel by becoming a channel member or by becoming a patron at patreon.com/TerryTalksMovies. Next up, we've got Science Fiction Saturday, and after that, we've got the live stream on Monday morning. And then I am getting stuck into those art house movies, which I'll review probably at the end of August and just go through the lot of them and tell you what I thought of them. So until that Herculean ordeal is dealt with, watch some good movies, watch some bad movies, watch some really retro TV, and just either indulge in your childhood or learn about the childhood of others. And I'll catch you next time.